Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I've got a video for you about the Call of Duty community as a whole. I have noticed a series of negative videos or opinions or comments about the COD community. It's dead, it's dying, it's miserable, it's the worst. Lots of terrible things, generally. We're going to take a more positive and analytic look at it today so we can see why it's changing and why people are saying those things. But Keemstar made a couple of videos about it. It was talked about in depth on Wings of Redemption's podcast a while back. This inspired numerous other smaller commentators to make videos about their opinions on the Call of Duty community, why it's not what it used to be, why it sucks, why it's bad, all that kind of stuff. And sometimes Thunder, I don't admit to watching that many videos in detail, but he does touch on this, that there are issues with the community in various videos throughout the channel. Not one in particular I can point to, but I would like to say the Call of Duty community is not dead. Simply the fact of you watching the video and enjoying it because it's Black Ops 3 or me, which I'm a member of the community, oddly, not how I like to think about myself. I like to think of myself as a regular gamer, but that's not the point. Just the fact that you're here watching this video proves that the Call of Duty community is alive, but it certainly has changed. It's not what it used to be in form, shape, or function, and it's not #1 anymore. There are other much bigger games than Call of Duty. Minecraft is huge, League of Legends is huge, CSGO, huge. There are a couple, Grand Theft Auto blew up. Grand Theft Auto's got its own really big community, but that's also because the COD community has changed. Back when the Call of Duty community was first forming, and up until probably about, I'd say it kind of started fizzling out, this type of thing in Call of Duty Ghosts, it was all gameplay driven or story driven commentary. It was perfectly normal, acceptable for all channels to just get a gameplay and then talk about literally anything on top of that if it was relevant to the gameplay or not. It didn't really matter. There were big personalities, so that was a big deal. Or just showing off the gameplay, pub stomping, very, very big deal. And this was the focus of the entire community. It was an art. Who can do the very best commentary? Who can comment on this game with the greatest amount of skill, which is what South Park made fun of because it was kind of crazy in its own kind of way. And it literally defined what it meant to be a gamer on YouTube, to be a YouTube gamer, to be a commentator or a streamer, any of those kind of things. It was the quintessential thing at the time. However, trends have shifted away from this. They've moved toward more informational videos, long form videos, guides and tutorials. I kind of pushed the envelope on that one, but it's much more toward produced content, a lot less about personal stories, a lot less about random topics, and generally speaking, a lot less about the quality of the gameplay. I think that pub stomping has kind of taken a back seat recently, and you're going to say, well, why? Why did this happen? Why is it not exactly like it used to be 5 years ago? Well, obviously things changed in that period of time, but it's kind of because of the popularity of Call of Duty and how easy it was to get into making videos on YouTube. Everyone, and I mean every single person and their grandmother, has made a Call of Duty channel, and they're doing their own different types of commentaries, and they're largely imitating people from back in the day. Even myself, I've done this millions of times, imitating, even doing a commentary like this one is imitating others, which is kind of crazy because that's how we think in this crazy YouTube place. But there were, as of a year ago, there were like 35, 40,000 different Call of Duty channels, which is just absurd. Now, obviously, not all of them are going to be huge channels, but there were tons and tons and tons of channels, so competition was very, very stiff, very strict, kind of different compared to other games where there were not as many channels. And being entertaining or telling good stories or, making jokes or doing random commentary or gameplay and stuff, that didn't stand out against the rest. Like you can only be so interesting, like your commentary can only be so good when there are 50,000 other commentaries out there. So we had to change what we're doing. You'll see a trend. You'll see people moving away from the gameplay and toward informational videos. I did this on my channel probably between like Black Ops 2 and Ghost. I moved away purely from the analytical stuff into more informational COD news. We see T Martin and Alley and Chaos and Prestigious Keep. We all do a very similar thing here. COD news, information, that sort of stuff. Getting the best info out there to the people. That's a big deal. Tips and Tricks took off, talking about the game, about the community, encouraging developers to do different things. All that took off, but the personality took a back seat. The storytelling ability, the big out there just talking about the game, just loading up the game and talking about it as you play it, kind of like Inside the Mind of X-Jaws, that sort of stuff. That just kind of became less of a thing, and in doing so, we lost our personality focus. I feel that there are less big Call of Duty personalities now than there are compared to other games, kind of like like Grand Theft Auto, you can play and just have fun, like Hike and TG and these guys. They just play and they have fun, and that's really all they do. They don't they don't have to worry about numbers or analytics or news and that kind of stuff. They're just enjoying the game, and we don't have that as much in Call of Duty. In doing so, we also lost our opportunity for collaborations, and this is kind of going back to what I saw on Wings podcast, people talking about, well, they don't do dual comms, they don't shout people out, we don't work together, and that's definitely true. Part of it is because competition. Nobody likes to help out the competition. I think that's a sad way to look at it. I would much rather help people and have people help me and have guests on the channel and that sort of thing. But because the personality, because the gaming aspect of it, and not the information, took a back seat, dual comms aren't as effective. They're not as interesting as they used to be, and they don't even fit the content style. If you think about my channel, which is mostly either my opinion on something or something analytical, doing a dual commentary with a guy, unless it was a very, very specific person that had a specific channel similar to mine that we could talk about a specific topic with that would match up really well with audience, it wouldn't even make sense. It wouldn't even be useful. It doesn't work like it used to. I did one with Censor. We talked about competitive stuff that worked really well. But just like that old school kind of like, let's do a dual commentary and talk to this guy and shout this dude out and he's going to get 20,000 subs, that's not going to matter because nobody cares, because everybody's doing Call of Duty commentary now. So we lost the ability to collaborate effectively, which I feel is bad. And on top of that, the community is widely split between what I'm going to call as 4 different areas. We have the competitive gamers, the professional scene. They have their own thing going on MLG.tv. They have their own YouTube channels. They have their own type of content. They have their own like little community to themselves almost that doesn't come out and play with the rest of us. They have informational type channels like myself and many, many others that do that. Pub stomping, you can easily look to J Nasty, Doom Clan, that kind of stuff. And there are still some big personality-based people. I'm going to say that Censor, Phase Censor, is more in the personality and less than he is in the competitive space now, where Primage is almost entirely a cult of personality. But unlike other gaming communities, other scenes, which are typically dominated by one of these 4 things, ours is pretty evenly split between them, so we have a lack of focus in what we want, what we need, how we coordinate, or it just, even from an outsider looking in, it seems kind of like we're all over the place and nothing really makes sense here. And one of the sad things is that these sort of sub-communities within Call of Duty don't even intercommunicate because there isn't even a common place to do that. COD forums tend to stick to their own like forum members. Reddit attracts its own crowd, but it's kind of weird. Like the Reddit has its own, like we have a COD competitive, which is where all the competitive people are, and then we've got more like the casual main Reddit, and the two don't cross over as much as you would think. We don't have a central COD hub, not even a YouTube channel or a personality or a guy that everybody likes. It just doesn't. We don't kind of have that, which is bad. No Twitch presence definitely doesn't help us all, but that's mostly because the competitive stuff is on MLG, and MLG also partnered most of the bigger personalities and COD streamers at the time. So our Twitch presence went, which means personality went down, which is obviously not a good thing. And lastly, Call of Duty has this oddly self-hating community, and we've kind of always had this. Other games don't have this. I'll compare to the Battlefield community specifically. I've made this comparison many times before. They're all about building their game up, talking about how good it is that they play their game and how they do it and why they do it and why it's better than everything else. Or you can look at other games, or you can look at League of Legends, which is a game that I play a lot in my spare time, like probably way more than I should, considering that I should be playing more Call of Duty. But while they do complain, they do still like their game. They work, they encourage it, they push it on other people, they tell you should try it. It's deep, it's strategic, it's good, it's interesting. Other communities, or Counter-Strike Go, this kind of thing, they love their game and they love themselves and they work hard to promote it to the outside, whereas we don't. There's just this huge group of people, probably not the majority, but a large group of people in the COD community that don't like Call of Duty, but they still play it for some reason. They talk bad about it here, bad about it there, and it just kind of, it definitely hurts growth for people looking on the outside. They're like, why would I play this game that's so terrible? It decreases our respect amongst other, communities and games and that kind of thing, because we don't even respect ourselves. And it can create a negative echo chamber where a single negative idea can be bounced back and forth between negative people or groups and just kind of grow into this big monstrous out of control thing. But despite all of these bad things, which are issues with our community and does separate it from other ones, the CoD community still exists. It might be a hydra of a community that's spread across like multiple small communities with no main hub, and it might be strange and it might be self-hating, but it's still here and it's oddly still growing. And I'm basing this growth not on player numbers, which we all know have been down a little bit, but on the sheer amount of views and on YouTube and the sheer amount of views on competitive events, which have held surprisingly steady. Twitter followers are up, like all my analytics kind of on my end, all very high and still growing, surprisingly. And the hype for Black Ops 3 is very, very real. I'll go ahead and throw that out there. I've been looking at pre-order numbers. They're like Black Ops 2 level pre-orders. The amount of friends that I have that are interested in it, the amount of friends that I have that have moved over to pure PC Master Race and haven't played a Call of Duty game in ages, that are interested in Black Ops 3 is surprising. So I think when Black Ops 3 comes out, we're going to see this giant boom, this giant growth of new players. And one of the best ways to welcome these people to our community in order to ensure that it survives and grows and performs well is just kind of being nice to each other, to try to cross-communicate, talk to different groups, enjoy different things, and try to put away the COD-hating negativity. Guys, that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something useful or at least interesting about what I think about the COD community and its problems. And if you did, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Drifter out.